And that's going to be extremely important as we do that. In terms of the Minsk group, we're not asking to join the Minsk group. That's a group that is functioning. What I think we can do is back up some of the work, particularly in what we've called confidence building, to try and support some of the initiatives, particularly around the borders in Nagorno-Karabakh. Having spent a bit of time in Azerbaijan and Armenia, it is very worrying to see how dangerous the conflict is. It's not frozen at all. And talking to both presidents and both prime ministers, both foreign ministers, meeting with civil society, it's really important that we're engaging in ways that can help people who are living there to try and, in a sense, develop stronger relationships with each other. Madam Leeds, to continue with your particular question, which is about Syria and the opposition groups, I've started to meet with different opposition groups from Syria. They would be the first to say that they're not a cohesive group. What they're trying to do is link up both with those who are on the ground in Syria and those people who've been working for a long time for a change in the regime in Syria. And they've looked at how the Transitional Council in Libya worked and the need to ensure that everybody was engaged. We've encouraged them to work together. We've encouraged them to show their connection to people in the country and on the ground. But we are meeting and listening to them and trying to find ways, particularly again with the Arab League, of offering them the support that they want. Madam Lunacek, you asked me about the EU ambassadors. Sometimes they seem to lead more than others. I think it's working pretty well. But again, we're at the early stages, and in some places there's a need to kind of develop the approach. In some places we still don't really take over the role of the rotating presidency because we're not a complete service yet to that extent. So there's more to do. And we do that both by training and support and mentoring, and also by working, as you absolutely rightly say, with member states, so that it's strengthened from the member states side as well as from the service itself. But the more that parliamentarians like yourself can do to also send that message, I think that really does help. In terms of what's happening in Russia, we've got people, the delegation has been monitoring what's going on very closely. It's not a movement so much as a grassroots rising at the present time in Russia. And they've been sending reports to us every couple of hours about the contacts that they've been having and the situation that's occurring on the ground. And as you know, we do have the Russia Summit this week, which will be interesting. The Women's Network for Civil Society engaged in making change, I agree with you. We need to find mechanisms in each country where civil society is directly engaged. And that's something that Stefan and I met to talk about last week, and to try and work out how we develop more for more so it achieves that. Bahrain, yes, I think what Karel de Gucht is proposing is very good. And I'd be very pleased to support him as he moves that forward. Mr. Cowell, you particularly raised the questions of the East and ensuring that we don't just concentrate on the South. And I agree with that. We've been very engaged in Ukraine. Stefan Fuller is actually there today. He's meeting with a wide range of people, as you probably know. It is important that we develop the links. We've always said with Ukraine, we wanted to move forward with them. We wanted to have good, strong links with the people, as we do with Belarus. But of course, there are real issues that you are fully aware of in terms of what's happened to the justice system in Ukraine, not just with Madam Tymoshenko, but beyond, with many other people. And that's something we will continue to campaign on. And with Russia too, the Partnership for Modernisation is very important. It's something President Barroso has invested hugely in. And I was in Moscow to meet with Foreign Minister Lavrov to talk about how we develop that further. But there are real issues for us as well. So a lot of emphasis from me and from Stefan on making sure of the East. Endowment for Democracy, Coreper met today and meets again next Thursday, when I hope they will reach agreement on how to take that forward. Mr. Jean-Jean, the Sahel. I met with the 4 foreign ministers of the Sahel last week. As you know, they were here, Mali, Mauritania, Niger, Algeria, to discuss with them how our strategy fits with what they need, and to make sure that what we're trying to do is going to actually provide greater support. And again, that comprehensive approach. I've just received a paper today, which is from our services, to look at what more we can do, whether there are particular missions we can put forward to develop the capacity. They talk about security a great deal, a huge area to deal with geographically, and their need for support is manifest. It's very obvious. but also development and support through our delegations to provide the kind of development they need. They've got hunger, they've got malnutrition, they've got security issues, they've got terrorism issues to deal with. And as you say, they're very worried about what's happening across the border. That's a real issue for them with Libya. And finally, Madam Lochlever, Human Rights and Democracy Review. This began because I felt it was appropriate to think about how do we do human rights better. It's not just about regular dialogues with countries that we do every 6 months. It's about everything we do. It's about making sure that it's part of what every delegation across the world is doing. It's making sure it's part of every conversation that we have. And it's making sure that we're supporting, not just through those sort of regular meetings, but the people that we need to support on the ground. And again, finding ways in each country of doing that better and more effectively. And that's what started me off to think, how can we do this differently, and what you'll see reflected in what I've written. And then on top of that, to actually start to develop what it is that, in my time, I can do. The issues that maybe we should focus on as campaigns, as well as the general overview. Issues that for me have been very important, women's rights, obviously. Forced marriages is an issue I worked on in a domestic audience and I feel very strongly about. Issues of the abolition of the death penalty, and how do we support now civil society growing in different countries. So trying to sort of start the conversation on that, but your comments will be extremely welcome. And I've nothing against a declaration if we can achieve it. I don't know how difficult that will be, but I'd like to think we could try. But certainly I see this as the beginning of a piece of work and not the end.
Grazie Baronessa Ashton, solo 31 secondi di sforamento, complimenti. Onorevole Kukan, Presidente della Delegazione con Serbia, Kosovo, Albania e Bosnia. Nonostante la sua importanza posso chiederle solo 1 minuto per una domanda e nessun commento. Grazie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your generosity. Madam Ashton, when I studied the Council conclusions on the Western Balkans enlargement, it occurred to me that those people who are writing them as the time passes by, they need more and more creativeness, fantasy, imagination, and innovative approach. So if they wish those countries who read those conclusions not to lose completely hope for the European integration, my appeal to you is that if those countries in the future deliver, if they really deliver what we ask from them, they should be rewarded fairly on the merits of their achievement and adequately. And not to put new requirements of all kinds which would ask them to prove, reprove, confirm, reconfirm what they have already achieved. That is, if we want to maintain our credibility in front of them and credibility and peace in our own conscience. Thank you.
Grazie onorevole Kukan. Onorevole Gomes, relatrice sulla Libia, per favore 1 minuto.
Well, my question about Libya has been asked by colleague Danjean. I want to thank you anyway what you're doing, namely in giving visibility to women. And indeed, I would like to press that this question of it's not about just the border controls, what the plans we have. It's also about the SSR and DDR effort, which is so glaringly necessary, as we see by what is happening now in the clashes between the people from Zintan and the regular army. My question now is, Annemie Nades mentioned the outrageous comments by Newt Gingrich on the Palestinian people, but we also have a very interesting comment by Hillary Clinton on her worry about the changing democratic nature of Israel because of the focus on building it as a Jewish state. Would you share those comments? Would that also have an implication in our approach towards the Middle East peace process? You on Horn of Africa and the famous global approach, why don't we lift a finger in trying to help settle the problem, the border demarcation between Ethiopia and Eritrea, which has tremendous implications for the behavior of these countries in the whole Horn of Africa? And why do we neglect the human rights situation in Ethiopia, which happens to be the headquarters of the African Union and the second most populous country in Africa?
Grazie, onorevole Gomez. A Sir Graham Watson, nonostante sia Sir e Presidente della delegazione con l'India, posso anche a lei solo dare un minuto. Mi appello alla sua nobiltà d'animo. Prego.
Thank you, President. High Representative, during the formation of your European External Action Service, an impressive collection of experts on China, particularly on human rights, has been dispersed. What are you doing to re-establish it? And my second question relates to the Southern Caucasus. I know you have been to Azerbaijan, and I hope, and indeed I'm sure, that you raised issues of human rights there. But what are you doing about the situation in Georgia, where a Mr. Bidzina Ivanishvili, millionaire who has financed opposition parties, is seeing his businesses destroyed by the government?
Grazie, onorevole Watson. La parola all'onorevole Gahler, capo missione di osservazione elettorale dell'Unione in Tunisia. Anche a lei un minuto, per favore.
Ja, vielen Dank. Ich wollte jetzt aber nicht zu Tunesien fragen. Ich möchte auch noch mal konkret wissen, wo wir jetzt vor dem EU-Ukraine-Gipfel stehen. Also wie weit sind wir bereit zu gehen? Werden wir vom Herrn Präsidenten deutliche Zugeständnisse hören? Wird er uns überhaupt die Ehre seiner Anwesenheit geben oder doch nach Moskau reisen, wie es ja kolportiert wurde? Und sind Sie in der Lage, noch deutliche Worte zu sagen zu der Art und Weise, wie eben hier die frühere Ministerpräsidentin malträtiert wird, also 12 Stunden Verhöre in der Krankenstation des Gefängnisses und eine erneute Verhaftung, um zu vermeiden, dass sie vielleicht am Morgen in der Berufungsverhandlung freigelassen wird. Diese sowjetischen Prozeduren, glaube ich, die sollten wir nicht hinnehmen und deutlich sagen, was wir im Sinne von Rechtsstaatlichkeit von einem Land erwarten, das einen Assoziationsvertrag mit uns gerne hätte. Danke.
Grazie, onorevole Gahler. Onorevole Howitt, un minuto. Per favore.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I'm also looking forward to tomorrow, so I won't use some of my time on that, except to say how important it will be on the human rights. I will ask in relation to human rights the question I put to Stefan Füle in the plenary about the structured dialogue on the European Initiative on Democracy and Human Rights. This is something that was not part of negotiations about the financial instruments because it's a non-legal cooperative thing that the Commission voluntarily offered to Parliament to allow us to have quiet, private discussions about some of the more sensitive areas of the EIDHR. Can I ask her what I asked Stefan Füle, whether there is an intention to continue that informal structured dialogue between on the EIDHR with Parliament? And secondly, can I agree with what my friend and colleague Mr Kukan said about last Friday's decisions on the Western Balkan countries? I have to say it's overshadowed by other issues, but I was disappointed, not just on behalf of progress on the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, but it did seem to me, in terms of Serbia and Montenegro too. In particular, can she say more about the Belgrino-Pristina dialogue and what needs to happen to change the Council's view?
Grazie, onorevole Howitt. Onorevole Schaake, un minuto, per favore.
Thank you, President. High Representative, as you may have heard me say before on behalf of the Alliance of Liberals and Democrats for Europe, we're very committed to human rights and also to see how trade and the economic power of the EU can be used as a lever to accomplish such. Today, you were part of the launch of the No Disconnect strategy, but were unable to include it in your introductory remarks. There has also been some mention of digital diplomacy in the human rights strategy. It's clearly a popular topic, which I think should be on the agenda, and I've fought for years, but I would like to see how it can be more than a statement. And in my contacts with the people at the External Action Service, I found a concerning lack of knowledge of technologies. It is certainly more than social media. Technology can help enhance human rights in various ways, but can also be used for serious repression thereof. And I would like to suggest perhaps sometimes less is more. To do things that you do well and not to try to do everything. And